And we have the amazing Eric Ng and Lisa Desmond Linder who are joining us today. And hopefully you'll get a wonderful insight into another completely different market. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hello. I'm Lisa Desmond Linder, and I work as a songwriter, and I also have a publishing company. I'm signed to a Tokyo-based publishing company as well. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Eric Ng. I make a living out of music, and I'm a songwriter, I'm an arranger, I'm a producer. I have a publishing company. I have a music school, and I tour around the world with an artist called Joaquin Chow, who is sort of like the Bruce Springsteen equivalent in the Chinese music. Yeah, so I do quite a lot of things. Yeah.
Awesome. So, with your wonderful insight, what do you think makes the Asian music market so different to other countries?
I think first of all, um, there is one similarity in all music in any country in the world, which is that whether you're writing a hit song for Adele or you're a Chinese artist playing for 50 people and they are paying you because they enjoy what you do, I think that's the greatest feeling in the world. And this applies anywhere in the world, and especially in the Asian music industry. Um, and then I think another thing is that I'm speaking on behalf of the Chinese music industry because that's my main thing. There's 1.5 billion Chinese in China. There's about 50 million Chinese everywhere else. We call them overseas Chinese, and I'm one of them. I'm from Singapore. It's about 6-7 hours from Beijing, and everywhere when I tour with my artists, everywhere in the world, we've performed in Lincoln Center in New York, we performed in Hammersmith Odeon in London, and Caesar's Palace, etc., etc. Wherever we go, whenever we enter the venue, it's a full house full of Chinese people. I don't know where all they just and the whole scene is all filled with Chinese people. When just a day ago, Van Halen was playing, for example. And then yeah, so in that sense, I find that the Chinese music industry is like all over the world because there's Chinese people all over the world. There's a lot of potential for it to go global just based on that there are Chinese people there. So I guess that's something that's very exciting for me because I think it was only recently that I mean last 5 years that China really start to pick up and say, let's join this game. Because previously it was Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia doing Chinese music. Of course, China was doing all their own music, but they didn't really get to commercialize it and all that stuff because there was too much piracy going on and all that. So it was about 5 years ago. There's this organization called Tencent that owns WeChat. Have any of you guys heard of WeChat? WeChat is like the WhatsApp, but you can even pay your bills with it. You can do all kinds of stuff. So Tencent owns WeChat and they own QQ Music, which also is like the Spotify equivalent, but it's in China, streaming, and they sell digital albums and all that. So Tencent decided to wake up the China government and work together with them to wipe out all the online piracy that was going on, and they managed to do it. I mean, and we were all so excited when this thing happened because suddenly the music industry suddenly went crazy. The numbers started going crazy. So this is a very exciting moment for us right now. Yeah.
And Lisa, you come from a slightly different perspective. So you write for the Japanese market. How do you think it's different to maybe writing for a Swedish audience?
It's different in a lot of perspectives, mostly because the fans are totally different. I think they are much more loyal and they value different things. They value the like the shows, the music videos. They value different things, and also they have like pride in owning um, everything. Like they buy CDs. They have a huge the 90% of the Japanese market is still physical CDs. So that's a big difference. And the fans want to own the CDs. They take pride in being a loyal fan. So that's a big difference.
Well, yeah, compared to Sweden, it's like the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where here it is pretty much 100% like streaming. We even kind of, I noticed in Sweden, I arrived here with an iPod and I got laughed at because I was like, who uses an iPod and who downloads music? Here's Spotify, this is Sweden. So it's really fascinating to see even now how different music markets have completely different kind of key distribution networks, and also how the fans consume the music.
Can I add that there's one more thing different in Chinese music is that in China there's no YouTube, there's no Spotify, there's everything is they have their own localized version. So for an artist to break inside China, whether you're from China itself or from outside, you gotta learn everything again, like from the marketing and promotion and the platforms, and there's so many different ways of entering, and it's all very different from anywhere else in the world. Yeah.
So do you think that development in technology has definitely changed the kind of music and also the way music is consumed? Because obviously, you know, as you were talking about Tencent, they've invested in Spotify, and Spotify has also invested in Tencent. Do you think that's going to make a broader music market, or the kind of music that will be available will be more than just Chinese music?
Actually, it is already happening right now, and I think actually when I first entered the music industry 20 years ago, my mentor told me you're at the beginning of the end, because from when I entered the music industry, artists were selling millions of albums, and just when I started enter, MP3 started happening and all that, and boom, it became from millions to hundred thousands to thousands to, you know, and but right now, ever since the Tencent started doing all this aggressive stuff, the whole thing started changing, and now, you know, artists can sell millions of albums. Or there's this thing that I was just sharing with her about virtual gifts. I don't, you know about the virtual gifts? There's this on QQ Music, right? Which is like a Spotify equivalent in China. If you like the artist, you can, like, it's sort of like if you have an Instagram platform. If you like the artist, you just press like. In their platform, if you like the artist, you can press like, plus you can give the person a gift. The gift is ranging from about $1 to $150. So I was just sharing that last year there was a boy band, the biggest boy band in China, called TF Boys. They did a 1.5 hour or 2 hour live streaming concert, and during that concert, there were 240 million virtual gifts given to this boy band. So you can so I was, yeah, that was the same response I got when I was like, you know, how rapid the whole thing suddenly just switched around from last time you couldn't make any music, any money out of music, to now monetization being a possibility. So I see with that happening, many more genres are allowed to survive already, because even if it's a smaller niche, it doesn't even need to be Chinese music. It can be anything. It can be from a band from Sweden, or a band from Korea, or anywhere. As long as the music is good, I think there is a chance for it to thrive on a platform like that. Yeah, and I was really happy to find out that you know, QQ Music is now have a minority stake in Spotify, and vice versa, because Spotify was the first music platform when it sounded too good to be true. Like streaming music, everything is in front of you, and then you just click and listen. And now QQ Music is doing it, and you know, with the widespread exposure for Spotify, and with QQ in China, I think there's going to be a lot of amazing things happening just with this technology. Yeah.
So do you think you'll see more collaboration between Asian artists and Western artists, more so now than just the odd one here or there?
Well, I think so. The whole world is being more globalized, of course. But the progress in Japan towards streaming is much slower, I think. I'm really amazed by the development in China. I think in Japan, since 90% is domestic and such a large part is physical sales. So the big production companies, they control the market. And they don't really have an interest in going towards the streaming because there's no reason for them to do that right now.
You just need to tell them about these virtual gifts. Like,
I'll tell
sounds
them.
amazing.
Tell them next
yeah.
time.
And the thing about the Tencent platform is you can stream it or you can buy it. So like for example, maybe some of you guys know that there's a very big K-pop star called G-Dragon. So when he released, there was this super fan who decided to buy 3,000 copies of his album. I don't know for what. He's gonna fill up his hard disk space of 3,000 copies, but he just wanted to prove that he's a super fan. So in China wise right now, is both are happening, but not the physical at all. Trying to find a physical distribution shop is impossible. I've never seen a shop selling CDs in China for the 20 years. Yeah.
And do you get like these niche cool vinyl stores, or they exist?
Yeah, vinyl is. I think vinyl is making a comeback everywhere in the world. So yeah, there are, and there are Chinese people willing to pay. I'm very happy to see that they are finally starting to support their own or support people that they like. Yeah, this thing didn't happen last time. It just started happening in the last 5 years. So yeah.
So, do you think that writers from this region have a different approach to writing music?
Well, how do I answer that? Well, I think we have a different way of doing it, but music is the same everywhere. So I think Japanese people, in my opinion, are very organized. So if you go to a Japanese camp, you'll know what to do, and you'll be preparing for it, and it's not going to be any confusions. And also you write a lot more songs. It's if you go to a camp, you'll be writing maybe 2 songs a day, and for the Japanese market, when you're in Europe, it's going to be a slower pace, much more less organized, but better in other ways.
For us, actually, for the longest time, I think we worked sort of like I don't know about now, but the Nashville system last time, where somebody writes lyrics and somebody writes melody, and it's usually just one person just doing that thing. That includes me. For the longest time, I was just working alone. We don't really interact or co-write with anybody and all that, because the culture wasn't there. Maybe because of the money involved. Like if you split like 5 with that sum of money, you might not get anything left. I'm not sure why, but we didn't really do that. It was only like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, then I started. Actually, it happened because I read a book called The Song Machine, that talks about like Dennis Pop, and talks about Max Martin, and how Dennis Pop and brought all these guys together in a room, and you write the verse, you write the chorus. I thought that was fascinating, because I never had this kind of insight before. So that was when I started getting all my friends from all over the world, and right now it is more easy, because like I said, the Chinese music industry is very exciting at this moment. So I've started to write with friends from Thailand, from Australia, from China, or Malaysia, or anywhere. Like people are more open to I mean, I myself am more open. So right now it's starting to change, and because I also have a publishing company in Singapore. We have about 40 of our writers. So I'm also encouraging them, like, hey, why one person? If one person can't sell a song, why not 5 people work together and sell a song? It's better than 0 if you keep working all the way like that. So we've been trying to do that, and the results have been good. So I find that this is something I think this is something that will change for us Asian writers, and I think it's a good move. Yeah.
Yeah, I think collaboration always inspires everyone in the room. So, what are the key elements to a Mandarin pop hit song?
I think Chinese people. I think there's one main thing about Chinese people is we love our karaoke. Yeah, we love our karaoke. Let me bring you guys back when I was in the year 2000. I was sent by my mentor. He's a producer called Jonathan Lee. He's like the Quincy Jones of the Chinese producer side. So he asked me, hey, you go to Vegas, go and work with this guy and write songs. So and train him because he's a new kid and all that. So the guy turned out to be Jackie Chan's son. You guys know Jackie Chan, right? Yeah. So because of that, I got to go Vegas and sit in the while they were filming Rush Hour 2. I remember, yeah, Rush Hour 2, the casino, it was called Aladdin or something like that. So we were in the casino. There was it was a huge open area, and then there was jazz pianist playing in the bar and was playing super well and all that. And then Jackie got a bit high because he was drinking wine, having a good time. And then he told the manager, hey, that guy, tell that guy to come down. My friend wants to go up. Then I'm like, no, I'm not going up. It's like, go up. So I went up and I started playing Chinese songs, and the whole place suddenly transformed to a huge karaoke singing session. It was the weirdest feeling because that was the first time I saw, hey, Chinese people really love their karaoke. So we were playing all the songs, including the artist that I'm touring with called Wakin Chow. We were playing all his songs, and like you get hearing this surround sound system, like where some Chinese guy is singing along to that song. Yeah, that was how we Chinese people love our karaoke. So because of that love, the Mandarin pop listener, all they really zone in is what happens from what comes out of the singer's mouth. Because even though I'm working for the Chinese music industry, I don't listen that much to it because I try to remove myself. So when I listen to Western stuff or other country stuff, or even the African stuff, things when listeners listen to music it's not just about the words coming out of the mouth. It's also about the groove and about the bass line, about maybe the instrumental break, the melody and all that. But we love our karaoke, so we just go straight for the vocal. So in that sense, and we need it to learn it fast. Like if I can't sing that song in 2 times, this is not a good song. I'm gonna sing something else. So the melody's got to be super simple, and I know there's a lot of songwriters in the house. So like in terms of melody wise, you just need one good motive, and then you just repeat the hell out of it until people to the point like you're almost disgusted, but you're not. Then that's the hit melody for the Chinese music. Yeah.
Wow. And okay, so is J-pop similar?
Well, they do love their karaoke too.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
So it's an Asian thing.
Definitely. And it's so funny when you go to these Japanese, Korean clubs, and I know no Japanese, and I'm trying to sing along to my songs, and I can't. And yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. But if you mean what was your question?
So with the key elements from Mandarin pop, it's about a very simple melody and very hooky, catchy lyrics. But what about J-pop?
Well, I think not as much repetition. They want progression all the time, and the verse needs to be completely different from the pre-chorus and so on. So a lot of key changes and chord changes. So yeah, I think that is a difference, definitely. And it's a lot about that. Yeah, constantly have to think about the visual output, like how are they gonna be able to dance to this, and maybe you need an instrumental part for them to have a dance break, or you have to think about these stuff.
There's another thing about Chinese music, which is Chinese people love their ballads. I think about 60-70% of the songs on charts or last long is all ballads. Why I don't know, but if you if you don't really, so I mean, me myself included, when I didn't really understand the whole music in the Chinese music industry last time, I thought, oh, what's all the old slow songs, they all sound the same. But you know, after that, when you started really getting into it, okay, you see there are small little differences here and there. But what's more important is about the lyrics in Chinese music. It's sort of like country music. The lyrics shoot straight to your heart. There's no room for you to imagine and all that. It's just your heart is broken. You gotta cry your heart out. You know. I just got a SMS from my friend just now. Like she was saying, "Oh, I heard one of your songs on radio and you made me cry." I replied, "Cool." Yeah, that's my job done. Yeah, I think that's another thing about Chinese music. We love our ballads. Yeah.
I see that quite a lot in not just Chinese music, but throughout Asia, and a lot with. I was working with a Japanese team, and they were like, "It needs to be a pop song, but it can't be too happy. It's got to be a little melancholy." And I was like, "That's really strange. I hadn't thought about pop having that kind of edge." Do you find that when you're writing the songs, that's kind of the aim or the kind of direction you go in?
Yeah, definitely. They have, even if it's a happy pop song, you need a little bit of, it's just keeping the balance, I think. I don't know why that is important, but it's also applies for a sad song, a ballad. It needs a little bit of hope. So I think it's the contrast. I don't know.
Very balanced. So we've talked a lot today about different kinds of educational initiatives that are in various countries. I mean, Sweden are very progressive with wonderful institutions. Africa is still developing a lot of their stuff. It's very DIY. What about Asia? I mean, you teach yourself and you have a production company. So what's available to young producers and writers?
In Singapore, we actually own. I mean, I own a music school that focus mainly on songwriting, and I'm proud to say that we have managed to bring many songwriters into the music industry, because we're not just a school, we are a publisher ourselves. So whenever I hear a good song, or maybe some student is, because our course is about 10 months, like somewhere through halfway through the course, some of the students will sell their songs and all that. I mean, as in pitch songs, and they get published. So actually, just now I remember one gentleman there was saying, like, should he go to music school, or should he, stay at home and YouTube and learn it himself? I think I'm not a trained musician myself. I cannot read notes and all that stuff. All through, whatever you call that, self practice or whatever.
Self-taught.
Yeah, self-taught. But the thing is that, same for our school. Some of them actually come. They are already very good, but what they really want is not to learn from us. They want the network from us. They want to know different people and collaborate and get their strengths together. So I think that to me, that is something very valuable about music education. It's not the education, it's the people that you're going to meet during the education. It's not just the teachers, it might be that classmate next to you. So that's what our school have been doing. So our writers have managed to move their hits into, I don't know whether you guys know, there's a guy, I'm always trying to find a equivalent, Chinese equivalent. There's a guy called Andy Lau. He's like, if a Chinese equivalent, he's like Tom Cruise. So he's an actor who still sings today. Yeah. So our students have written songs for him, and many others artists in China who are making waves. So that is what we have in Singapore right now. Yeah.
And you were talking about the production companies having incredible control in Japan. So do you have to go through one of these production companies as like your school? Or do you train and learn within these companies, or do they pick them from great schools?
Well, I think most of the production companies have their trainees. Like, yeah, they have kind of schools who prepare them. Like, they pick them from young ages, like maybe 12 or something like that, to train them. And I think even more so in Korea, definitely. But I think there are a lot of, like, there are classical schools as well. I don't know if like for songwriters what kind of like education systems there are. I'm not fully aware of that, but
I'm so envious of the Stockholm, like all the. Just now you were telling me like, if if a child goes to a songwriting school, the parents are just as happy as any other course. Wow. For those guys watching YouTube in Singapore, just imagine that in Singapore, but don't imagine that it's not going to happen. But it's really cool. So that's why I was so excited to be here, because so much great pop music has been made in Sweden from ever until now. Yeah, I just want to suck up as much energy as I can before I go back. Yeah.
So, what Western music do you think connects best with an Asian market?
I okay. For Chinese music, I think it's the same. The melody's got to be super simple. That's why you don't see. There's actually a lot of Swedish writers writing songs for the Chinese music industry already, and mostly are because they are covers from Kpop, and they move into the Chinese music industry. But I'm not too good at EDM, but the drop thing, then the synth interlude thing comes out, that doesn't really work for, because I guess you cannot do that in karaoke. You cannot, it's not gonna work, right? Yeah, so so you're really gonna look like a weirdo doing that. So the melody is still the thing, and yeah, a lot of I would say anything on the billboard works in the Chinese music industry. Yeah.
And do you see that in Japan? Like I've started to notice key artists who are international, who want to break in Asia, collaborate with a local artist who might do a verse in Mandarin or Japanese or something. Do you see more of that now?
Actually, this has been going on for quite a while. There is this band called Michael Learns to Rock. Do you guys know? Are they from here? Oh, sorry, Denmark. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They actually covered a Chinese song, and then made the whole thing into English and sung it, and they're huge in China, and I mean in Asia, and I would see this gonna happen more and more, because like virtual gifts and all that is going on. I think because I mean it is even happening for us as songwriters now. We get more, we get when we pitch for maybe somebody from another country, hey, you want to work together, is starting to become, they are becoming more receptive, because the market is happening, and right now it's like the best time, because like for me, I've been writing songs for 20 years, so right, just suddenly in the last 3 4 years, my back catalog is starting to get money from like 20 years songs from 20 years ago. So right now, I think it's like the perfect time for anybody who's interested in the Chinese music industry, because this is where you're gonna build your catalog, and hopefully when you get to a point where you're on a roll, and when the thing explodes to the Adele proportions of writing Hello. I mean, this is my dream. This is my own dream. This is what I dream every day. Like, this is why I'm doing this. I hope that one day the Chinese music industry can reach like that kind of proportion, where a songwriter really gets rewarded for what he loves. That's, to me, is my dream. So that's why we are doing this. We are doing a production company, we're doing publishing, we're teaching people and all that. We just want everybody to be part of this game, and anybody is welcome. You don't even need to be from Singapore, because I've worked with writers from Vietnam and Thailand and everywhere. Yeah.
And do you ever see a world where in Sweden, for example, we're going to have Jpop at the top of the charts and Kpop or M-pop doing really well? Do you think it's ever going to cross over?
Well, if you look at the iTunes chart in Sweden, when a big like K-pop artist releases something, it goes to the top already, because there's so like the subcultures, especially here as well. There's a big scene.
So do you think that's going to affect the way they write music? So it's not just for a local market, but they're looking perhaps broader?
I'm not too sure about this, because I know quite a few artists from China who are doing really, really well in China. And I asked them, hey, have you ever thought of breaking out? They're like, it's I don't need that I'm very happy doing what I'm doing right here. But there, of course, there are also artists who are breaking out. There's one hip hop group called I cannot remember what they call it at this moment, but they wrote a rap about WeChat. Have you guys heard of this? Yeah, they were featured on HBO because they are doing hip hop and they're singing a bit of dialects with English, and the things they rap about is all the things that we know, like how come everything now is made in China, like my cooker is made in China, my oven is made in China, what's happening, it's just like they're rapping about things like that. And from what I know, they are signed to a label in New York called 88 Rising. Yeah, so I think I'll never say never. Yeah.
Kind of my last question. So with this new streaming boom, especially in China, and I think Japan will get there eventually. Do you think you might change the way you write songs? Because I've noticed here that because the first 30 seconds are so important because you don't want people to click to the next one, that songwriters have actually started changing the way they write songs. Do you think we're going to get to that stage as well?
For when you're writing for Japanese music, the most typical way is that you move the chorus to the intro. Like, so you tease with the chorus already. So they're already doing it.
They were ahead of the game.
I don't think it's 30 seconds. I think it's about 10 seconds right now, especially in Asia where everybody's doing 10,000 things at the same time while they're checking their phone. I don't know what else they're doing. So I think it's only about 10 seconds, but that hasn't changed for us because, like I said, that's our karaoke culture. We need to be able to sing it once, like you hear it 2 times. By the end of the song, you should be able to sing the first chorus. So that principle has never changed before. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open up to the floor. You're my favorite. You get an award.
Hi. So the fan base is really strong. Does it mean that you can be more creative when you're making songs because you know that the fans are gonna stay with you, or is it that you need to follow that recipe for them to be loyal?
I think it allows a little bit more creativity. They love when you have a specific theme, for maybe a 50s theme, and you can go a little bit more all in, and that's a lot of fun to be creative in that way for me. So yeah, but you still have to. The format has to be the same, especially the development of the song for the Japanese market, at least. Yeah.
For the Chinese market, for the mainstream, there's really no room for exploring outside because it's really a karaoke thing. You have to hit the guy straight in the face. But that is at this moment. So because I see that there's a lot of potential for growth in China, so with more money to move around, I'm sure there will be like a kick-ass jazz band or some really avant-garde music which will turn into a niche, but that small little pie will keep that person surviving better than somebody in a small country like Singapore, for example. Yeah.
Can I ask a question for you? Yeah, because I'm really interested in the Chinese market, and from what I heard, the royalty system is still under development. So what is happening right now for the songwriters that way?
Right now, because it actually changed in the last 3 years because of Tencent. So right now, Tencent works with a few different publishers because my company, we are administered by Warner Chappell. So Warner Chappell and Universal, all the big companies are there, and they do the negotiations from the earnings they get from Tencent. Yeah, like you said, it's just the very beginning. But for me, it's always been a little bit is better than nothing. So right now, we are just all sitting there. And when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? But I'm actually quite sure it will happen because I think the mainland Chinese, when they want to do something, they will get it done. I mean, that's what I can see, because my dad has been working in China since when I was a young age, and so I get to hear all the stories from him, like how the Chinese work and all that, and it keeps coming true. Like, you know, this month you're in China and you go away, and 1 month later, hey, how come there's a 50-story building just popped out of nowhere? You know, when they really want to get something done, they'll get it done. So I'm quite sure it might be slow, but I think it will happen. Yeah.
And then kind of a follow-on question from that, because the Japanese market is fairly closed in terms of most people I know are signed in Japan and then signed outside of Japan because they don't even use ISRCs. And there's been a lot of talk of them maybe developing that. Do you think that's a good or a bad thing? Do you think that'll affect the Japanese market if they're kind of more open?
More open towards what?
In terms of their kind of publishing payment structure?
Okay. The way I started working for the Japanese industry was like I was signed to a publisher in Sweden, and they had a Japanese sub-publisher. So for me, it was kind of flexible. So I think they see the benefit of having like the international influence. Usually you work with Japanese writers, and they just want the international touch. So I think it's getting more and more open, definitely.
Am I lost?
You mentioned earlier that I think it was J-pop that has to have something melancholical or something more serious topic. I can relate to that because I listen to a lot of salsa. I was growing up with salsa, and the music sounds happy, but your stories can be very sad and very. They talk a lot about, for example, slavery, for example, and sad songs, love songs. And for what reason do you think that they have to have something a little bit more serious than, for example, the Western world? There's very much the pop is very glad music or very dance music right now.
Well, that's a hard question because I think you need to understand the culture. And I'm not from Japan, but I've been there a couple of times and like getting to know some Japanese people pretty well. But I think they want to experience a lot of emotions. I think they work really hard during the day, and I think they want some outlet for their emotions. And then you don't want the easy breezy kind of music. I think you need something more substantial, I think.
Actually, for Chinese music, it's not just melancholy; it's like downright tragic. For some of the songs, it's downright tragic. My guess is because when we are unhappy, we go to our karaoke and we go to a karaoke and sing the shit and our heart out and all that stuff. When we're happy, we go to a club, right? So maybe that's why the songs all move towards the more like a little bit darker side for the karaoke, so that they can do that. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think one more.
You said before you normally don't listen to the music that's already in your market, and I heard that before. But my question is, how you manage to still sound fresh or in trend? You know what I mean?
Okay. Actually, for anybody who has an interest in writing for the Chinese market, I would say our melody taste, the taste of our melody, is really something quite different from anywhere else in the world. I find this is what I find, and especially that there's a lot of pentatonic things going on, especially in the older songs where you only have 5 notes. You don't move too much in the major scale and all that stuff. So in order to write for the market, first of all, you need to understand it. So that's all I did. I mean, for me, because I didn't listen to Chinese music when I was growing up. I was listening to like hair metal, Guns N' Roses, and all that stuff. So when I decided that, okay, this is something that I can go for, I went to Taiwan, and Taiwan is the broadcast hub of Chinese music. So I just went there and stayed there for 3 months, and I just brainwashed myself every day. And then at that time they had Channel V and MTV playing non-stop music videos every day. So I just sat down there and like, what's going on? And I just kept listening, and after that I started finding, okay, there is certain little niche and certain patterns that they seem to recognize as a hook. So once I sort of got that taste part, then that's when I removed myself. So I did have to go through a brainwashing process before I had to get out of it, because to me I couldn't get stuck in that too much, because there's way too many slow songs. I cannot sit down there and every day be unhappy. So I had to remove myself, and after that I started, okay, let's listen to everything except Chinese music, and how to link that taste factor plus everything outside together. So that is sort of me and many other Singaporean people's way of doing things. Because in Singapore, I don't know whether any of you guys know where is Singapore, but it's not part of China. It's about 6-7 hours from China. And in Singapore, we have Chinese people, which make up about 75%. And then there's Western people and Indian, Malays, and all that. So we when we were born, we are exposed to all kinds of music already. I can be anywhere. I can hear an Indian song, a Malay song, or something like that. So that has been our Singapore identity. When we write songs, we have a little bit of everything. Yeah. Can I just also ask, like, are there any who are the music students in this room right now? I'm just being curious, and I just want to look at you and envy you. So it's just the 5 of you, or are there more? Yeah. So the rest of you guys are all like hit makers, right? I'm not sure. Are they? So they're all hit makers, and then 5 students.
A few students, some hit makers.
Oh, you're the hit makers plus students, and the rest all are already hit makers. Okay.
Awesome. Well, can we give Lisa and Eric a big round of applause?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.